Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. It may be Sunday, January 23rd, but the news is jumping off this morning. We have legal analyst Jeremy Hogan talking about the latest in his perspectives. Plus, we have some SEC news. Somebody's leaving. IMF, U.S. executive order for crypto. Ripple partner. We're going to talk about that because the United Nations is talking about a new international economic order and how the Ripple partner and the XRP Ledger fit into that. And we're going to also hear from technical analyst Dark Defender for XRP. Is a moonshot imminent? Because regardless of the bloodbath, it seems something is at play here, and it could be incredible. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at @BackUpBradley and everything that we're talking about here today. $1.649 trillion market cap. Again, it's January 23rd, 2022. Not how any of us wanted to start the new year, but this is where we are regardless. Up 2.03% this morning after bleeding heavily 25-30% plus for a lot of these top 10 cryptos here. Bitcoin now at 35,000 plus. Whoa. 2,400 plus for Ethereum here. We see Cardano coming in at $1.11 right now. Solana is coming in at $101 and change. XRP is 61 cents. I tell you, massive bleed and sell off here in the market. But let's take a look at the price range here. We saw it dip all the way down to 0.5687 and ranging at the top at 0.6308. Let me tell you right now, the numbers are brought to you by Link2.com. Private investing made simple. And I tell you, this is the companies, I'm going to let this spin right here while you see it. These are the kind of companies that are really offered here as private equity before these companies make their journey to going public, Ripple being one of them. They have $1,000, $1,500 Bitcoin back to your wallet if you buy directly from your Uphold wallet with crypto to get that private equity. Or you can get even XRP. The choice is yours. But I tell you, it does end, I believe, at the end of this month. So don't miss out. It is a great opportunity, no doubt about it. You do have to be accredited, but if you're not, register anyway. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of information and data points on all of those companies in many different sectors. You can't beat it. Jeremy Hogan right here says the SEC won't win this motion mainly because the evidence it wants to submit is not new. Now, see, this is where we're really grateful to have the John Deatons and the James K. Filans and the Jeremy Hogans of the world, Attorney Seal, all those people in this space contributing their insights here. He says, in my opinion, the purpose is not to hide the emails from the judge. The cat is out of the bag, he says. He said, that leaves three possibilities. You got to love the way Jeremy breaks it down here. 1, delay. 2, make a record for appeal, or delay, right? So going into this really quickly, it shows here, generally reconsideration requires an intervening change of controlling law, the availability of new evidence, or the need to correct a clear error or prevent manifest injustice. So he's citing here that there is nothing new that's being submitted here. This is the original post from James K. Filan. Shout out to him and thank him for everything he does. He says here, Jeremy goes on to say that the delay is obvious. This is no less than the fourth request by the SEC for an extension of time in this case. As we discussed before, time is on the SEC side and litigation is war. You, the retail holder, are just civilian casualties. Well said, Jeremy Hogan. More interesting is the lengths the SEC is going here to avoid this precedent that its internal docs are discoverable, making self-contradictory argument. He says here, I've seen this sort of long-thinking litigation strategy before, and the SEC fear is the ace up Ripple's sleeve. He goes on to say here, these motions solidify that the SEC will absolutely pull the plug on this litigation if it believes it might lose a major issue and create case precedent that inhibits its ability to expand its control. P.S. My crypto portfolio was just decimated. Please excuse me while I go cry. Yeah, and the rest of us too, Jeremy. And he's also asked here, he said, you've mentioned previously that a judge granting BS motions for delays give the SEC less chance of a successful appeal. Do you think the SEC is out of free extension cards? Jeremy says, I honestly don't know. Having now reviewed some of Judge Torres's prior cases, I don't think she's the type of judge that moves quickly, so I'm not optimistic that she kicks this case onto a fast track. Very great responses right there, and we're grateful for each and every one of them. Look, I mean, we run the risk if this goes too strong in Ripple's favor that they drop this case, and we're no better off for it. Well, we got some news here that may take us to that place, even though you may not anticipate this path. Right here, we see a reminder that SEC Commissioner Elad Roisman steps down 2 years ahead of schedule. Elad Roisman, a commissioner of the SEC Securities and Exchange Commission, ended his term on Friday. We thank him for his service and his courage. He has stood up many times and voiced his disagreement in how to handle the crypto space when it comes from the SEC agency. Now, here we see that the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission Chairman Gary Gensler says he wants to bring crypto exchanges under the umbrella of regulation this year. Now, I covered this at the end of last week, and you have to wonder, where is this going? Because have you heard any other agencies in the United States pushing back at all and saying Gary Gensler is out of line? Now, I'm not talking about congressional officials like Tom Emmer, who absolutely has been amazing in this space and understands it to a very high level, right? But the reality is that, outside of the congressional small group of political leaders there, that understand this space, you hear nothing. You don't hear any pushback from the OCC, Michael Hugh. You don't hear any real pushback from Rostin Benham at the CFTC or otherwise. And that, to me, is very concerning that Gary Gensler, in fact, may get his way, and that may have been worked out a long time ago in back channels in meetings with the White House. So looking right here, the Biden administration is all set to aim for an executive order to be sent out in February. Now we're talking about an executive order that will ask for reports from federal agencies. It will be the first of its kind, an initial government-wide strategy for digital assets. Going into this, it's very quick here, but you're going to want it. As the White House is set out to etch out a U.S. crypto policy, the Biden administration is all set to aim for the same. An executive order will be sent out in February. The executive order will ask for reports from federal agencies, be the first of its kind, as it said. And it says here, senior administration officials are holding hectic parlays to plan the effective strategy for digital currencies. The blueprint is vague and ambiguous. However, experts feel that the Federal Reserve has taken the first tentative steps towards creating a central bank digital currency. The hardest part is designing a CBDC that satisfies Congress and the White House while smoothly transitioning into a payment and banking systems without disruption. That's what's coming. As a reminder right here, before we go on to the next piece of news, that Craig DeWitt from Ripple is also the vice chair of the U.S. Faster Payments Council. How about that one? Kristalina Georgieva from the IMF, managing director here, has warned that the Federal Reserve's next interest rate hike could throw cold water on nations with high levels of dollar debt, making it harder for these smaller economy countries to pay back what they owe. So that's really the long and short of it. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but that is the problem. We have a stress on the U.S. dollar because of national policy and because it also serves as the global reserve currency. So then you have international policy because it's the global reserve currency, GRC, right? And then you also have national policy. And the Triffin dilemma is when you have that conflict of interest when you make a decision for the US dollar and interest rates and things of that nature that counter what would affect the rest of the world because of that status. So things are getting stressed out. Now, this is Anders L., an incredible influencer and researcher on Twitter, and you should follow him. I don't know why he doesn't have 170,000 people, and he has a Patreon as well. He shares here a document from the United Nations, and I pulled it up. You can go right here to United Nations Digital Library. I pulled up the English version right here. And I'm going to show you this document. And just for understanding here, I'll go back to that section in just a second here. But this is the document. General Assembly, United Nations, resolution adopted by the General Assembly on December 20th, 2018. This has been in play for quite a long time. Let's go back to his tweet and show some of these highlights here. He shows a declaration on establishment of a new international economic order, a reform of international monetary system, and other financing mechanisms to bring them into line with development needs, both financial and technologically transfer incentives and assistance in industrialization products in developing countries. Is anybody else reading this the way I am? I got some more information other than this for you, too. In 2018, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the resolution towards a new international economic order, which reaffirms the need to continue working towards a new international economic order based on the principles of equity, sovereign equality, interdependence, common interest, cooperation, and solidarity, among all states. Now let's take a look at this, because he shares this as well. This is from the same document. Reaffirms the international trade is an engine for development and sustained economic growth, as well as the eradication of poverty in all of its forms and dimensions, and also reaffirms the critical role that a universal, rules-based, open, non-discriminatory, and equitable multilateral trading system can play a stimulating economic growth and development worldwide, thereby benefiting all countries at all stages of development. Here's another little highlight here. Emphasizing multilateralism, including a universal, rules-based, transparent, predictable, inclusive, non-discriminatory, and equitable multilateral trading system is the most appropriate platform of international cooperation for addressing the challenges facing humanity. Are you hearing this? This is what we're talking about here. And then I go on to show you this because it's all in this right here. And this is the right, look here. Right? Stressing the need to fulfill all financial and development commitments, including those contained in the monetary consensus of the International Conference of Financing for Development, the Doha Declaration and Financing Development Outcome Document for the follow-up and International Conference of Financing for Development to review the implementation of the Monetary Consensus. And it says here the Addis Ababa Action Agenda of relevant outcomes from major United Nations conferences and summits. It says noting that there have been systemic challenges to the global economic architecture, demanding a review of global economic governance. You hearing these terms, these words, calling for a reform in the international financial system and the relevant institutions. I think you get it here. Strengthening the voice of participating developing countries, international economic decision-making, and norm setting in the global economic governance, recognizing that it is important an international monetary fund continue to be adequately resourced as supporting, reiterating its commitment to further governance reform at both the fund and the World Bank to adapt to changes in the global economy. World Bank, IMF. And then I thought, gee whiz, well, World Bank, IMF, what are they talking about? Rules-based, right? Rules-based system, right? That opens up inclusiveness and all of this. Well, in this IMF document from August 20th, which I originally got from Mickey B. Fresh back in the day, and here we see that the IMF is interested in letting us all know about, DLT-based platforms, FSOC, and when things have not been designated as systemically important by FSOC, right? Or we come down here and it talks about FinCEN, the Federal Reserve, all of these agencies we've been talking about for years that are going to raise their head and play a role in this decision making. And the IMF continuing to talk about the also network-based application service providers such as RippleNet. right? Offering digital platforms and networks. I mean, when you look at this MoneyGram, it goes to that relationship they used to have with Ripple at the time. It cites that. It goes on here to talk about, obviously, the Bank Secrecy Act and things of that nature in here. And it continues to talk about RippleNet and how it could be used, right? We know that RippleNet obviously is a real system set up with rules-based governance built right into the system, right? And then coming back to here, right? So this is the UN and what they're talking about. Then this UN stuff about the new international economic order reminded me of this. Remember we covered this back in December of 2021? Zang.com chooses the XRP ledger for sustainability. Is there a greener alternative? Well, yes, there is. And in fact, if we come to the United Nations page, right? West and Central Africa is talking about here, if you want to narrow it down to where we're going here, UNODC, Office of Drugs and Crimes, it says, will increase its partnership with Zang.com, which has chosen the XRP ledger for sustainability here. The United Nations, it says here, has selected key partner United Nations as the preferred private sector counterpart to establish and sustainably operate a securities exchange out of Mauritius. Zang.com is working hand in hand with the UN Development Systems, UNDS, focus on African market infrastructure solutions for carbon markets and contribute to the sustainable development goals, which are known as SDGs. Come down here, Zang.com will develop a carbon credit solution on the XRP ledger for the issuance of tokenization or tokenized carbon credits in accordance with the standards set by the leading industry working groups in the Interworking Alliance known as IWA, right? And then we have Global Blockchain Business Council and Initiative and the Task Force on Scaling Voluntary Carbon Markets, of which Zang.com is a member. Zang.com will aim at co-creating a great green wall fintech ecosystem that supports innovation around digital technologies that will benefit the private sector, fostering growth and innovation, also improving upon the inefficiencies surrounding current government's funding and banking initiatives. The work of the UN and Zang.com is to ensure the highest level of scalability can be achieved throughout the wider UN programs. So this is to spread not only in Africa, but in other programs as well as it develops, by delivering a governance and technology framework that mitigates risk and enhances deliverables. You know, ladies and gentlemen, whether we're talking about the IMF, we're talking about the United Nations with over 190 countries in it. That's what we're talking about. And we're worried about price? Well, let's take a look at price. Dark Defender says he has an update for all of us. Please check the XRP daily chart. The retracement should be finalized around our Fibonacci retracement zone level at 65 cents. Our time will come, and we expected on all our structures that it would be around February to April. Take a look right here. Chins up, everybody, he says. Double tap. Double tap. And where we're at right now appears to be another double tap setting up on the RSI as well as on the chart itself. Multi-year support line is at 47 and 50 cents. So we could even see it still go down to there, even though I know we saw 56 cents as a low right here is where it was. We've seen 56 cents. So we could go down even further than 45.50, or maybe we have seen the bottom, and that is the double tap. But take a look at this, because this really is interesting when he puts these things out and shows you what he's called prior. On the 5th of December of 2021, we discussed the second wave could touch 47 cents, which will be similar to the 2017 pattern. And finally, XRP touched a multi-year resistance as of yesterday. If we take a look at this, you can see right here, he shows you touch 2022, 2020 bounce, touch and bounce, right? So he's showing you another version of what could be that double bottom, right? So that multi-touch there. So 2017, after touching the multi-year resistance, if we go into that, I think you're going to like this chart, right? That chart shows you right here what we're talking about. If it continues to repeat history, you could be looking at this fractal repeating itself from back in 2017, 2018, which could take us to that $25, $27 like Coins Kid has talked about. Shout out to him. and many other technical analysts, and even beyond into 2023, which could take us in the hundreds of dollars here. Wow. It's pretty remarkable when you think about how this stuff goes. And it's just laying that fractal of the previous history over. And look, history doesn't always exactly repeat itself, but it damn sure rhymes sometimes. And I could tell you, I would have no problem if this were to play out within the next year or so here in watching this happen. I would have no problem with this at all. So this is pretty remarkable to have this information, and it's not financial advice, but it is certainly elements to put into we're going to keep an eye on what's going on here, because there is something about the history that is speaking to me. And I know it speaks to a lot of you because I get the messages and comments that say so. So we'll keep an eye on it. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. There is a lot happening on this Sunday, regardless of the Sunday Bloody Sunday that's happening in the crypto market right now. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below. And don't forget, we will be live this morning, and it will be on Facebook. Digital Perspectives News, no spaces, right around between 9:30 and 10. Keep an eye out for the notification, and we'll see you then. Have a great day. Take care.